Hello, everyone. My name is Danny. This review is for the movie called Breakthrough. It is a 2019 movie. I just saw it in theater today, and it is rated PG and it runs an hour and 56 minutes. It stars Roxanne Dawson. It's directed by Roxanne Dawson, excuse me. It stars Chrissy Metz, Josh Lucas, Topher Grace, Marcel Ruiz, Dennis Haysbert. When Joyce Smith's son John falls through an icy lake, all hope seems lost. But as John lies lifeless, Joyce refuses to give up, and her steadfast belief inspires those around her to pray for his recovery. Based on the incredible true story of one mother's unwavering devotion, Breakthrough is an enthralling reminder that faith and love can create a mountain of hope, and sometimes even a miracle. Well, I have a lot to say on this movie, so we'll get started. We'll start with the actors. The main actress seems to have fit the part, played the part accordingly, and I don't have much else to say about her other than that. I don't think she added much charisma to the movie. I think she played what she needed to, and she did a good job. She just did her job, and she that was it. I always like Josh Lucas. He's a good guy. I appreciate him whenever he's in a movie. His character was rather dry, and I think he turned it into something. So I do appreciate that. As far as Topher Grace goes, I've seen him in a lot of funny things, and I didn't need his funniness in this movie. I could have used him just being a dry, bland old pastor, but nope, he has to kind of be himself, and I didn't really need that version of Topher in this movie. So if he could have just dumbed it down a little bit, I would have appreciated it. He has a couple back and forths and conversations that are very bland and feel like uncomfortable for him. And I'm sure they cast him appropriately for the role. I just don't think it was a very comfortable role for him to play. As far as any of the kids go, I have no notes or anything. I just think that everything was very choppy in this movie for younger people. Like they gave their line, they didn't have any facial expression, and they walked away from the conversation without any kind of interaction. And like we're left to assume a lot. Like people are upset, they're still mad about something that happened when they were younger. There's a lot of assumptions going on, and I just don't like that kind of stuff in a movie because it's okay to explain some things in your movie, why somebody's moody, why somebody doesn't say something as they walk away from a person. When parents are having conversations about their kid, but they don't actually go back and have a conversation with that kid about what they did. It's like, why are you having it with the audience but not with the character you're talking about? And there's a lot of stuff in this movie that does that, where like it mentions something or it has something happen and it doesn't follow up with that later. And I was kind of wondering about it a couple times. So I'm not sure if they meant for that to happen. It just seems a little choppy that way. Um, I'll just briefly talk about the subject of basketball in this. Um, it is nice and it's fine that Steph Curry had some part of this movie. And, we see his poster up on the wall in this kid's bedroom and, towards the beginning of the movie. If a star is going to have a part of some kind of movie like this, I kind of like them to make an appearance. The basketball that we get is middle school, but they seem like they're pretty good. And there's this one game that kind of is coming down to the wire, and it's a very low score. So that I don't know if they thought about that or not, if they don't care, I don't know. But it seems like a elite kind of, more refined Christian school that has a good sports program might be able to score more points than what they put on the scoreboard there. And then this kid hits the game-winning shot, and it's like everybody's like, "Yay!" and then they walk away. It's the weirdest, awkward thing. No celebrating or anything. That was really awkward scene for the whole movie. It's like the worst part of it, really, is how bland this kid is and how bland he is even in good times. So, as far as the movie goes, like, I'm not going to break down every single scene, but if I were to watch it again, I could make a list of some things that are off, they're awkward, they don't follow up, so those kind of notes that I've given so far, that's really what the movie is, and that's really all I have for notes there. The other half of this review is going to be about if you could actually envision yourself being able to handle what happens in this movie and how the actors handle it, and if it paints a portrait of how Christians should handle it. So when I walked out of this movie, I saw it with a family member, and we were talking about, like, we don't think we'll ever be able to be in that capacity. If something were to happen to a family member, we thought, oh, we'll never be able to keep our cool at all. It's going to be hard enough staying in the hospital room every day. It's going to be hard enough, relying on the Lord and all that stuff. But, you'll need a support system, obviously, like this movie has. But the way that this movie paints out a portrait that, you are going to get completely upset, try and control everything, and, yelling at people and not caring about yourself. And there's just a lot involved. And I don't think it's very realistic. And I don't think it's very much a way that a true Christian would act in a time of crisis over the course of 3 days. This really gets drawn out, and it seems like 3 weeks or 3 months, and it's only 3 days. And that part of the movie is kind of incredible because it's just, fantastic to think that somebody can have something happen to them that's a miracle within 3 days. But this movie just, there's so much happening, there's so much talking, there's so many controlled situations, and it's just so off for how, we, in my circle, get taught and raised to act, that it just seems absurd at sometimes. So, the part I have about Topher Grace and his character, the pastor, he does okay with being there and being a good pastor as far as when the crisis starts. It's his other times, that kind of make him kind of not a good pastor role. But it's, this is all touchy. So I don't want like a million comments about how awful I'm being right now. But for this movie to kind of say that you need to either separate yourself from the situation and not being able to handle anything, or, be there all the time and try and control everything, it's just not the Christian way to handle things. If you have somebody in your family go to the hospital, you need to be there for them. You need to, ask God to heal them, but that's the extent of it. This movie really draws out a lot and makes it over dramatic for movie purposes. And I just don't want anybody out there thinking that this is, the guidelines on how crazy you need to be if something dramatic happens in your life. So I can't say I agreed with too much, as far as that stuff goes. So it just is really technical and everything. Of course, it's a movie. Of course, it's dramatic. So they kind of realize their bad ways at the end of the movie. And I do appreciate that, at least, that they come to a realization that what they've been doing for the last 3 days is not the right way to act. I just don't like this movie existing and showing people that it's okay to either go crazy or controlling. So, um, the stuff that happens in this movie with the water is great. I would say it's great. Towards the end of the movie is a really cool effect. I cannot say I cared for the beginning of this movie in the beginning scene with the water because it's just foreshadowing something we know is coming. So maybe you don't care if it's irrelevant or if it doesn't matter, don't complain about it. It's just something that felt weird. It was a weird way to start the movie. So, lots to say, lots to talk about. I could probably go on for another, 10, 20 minutes. I'm going to leave it here that the music is wonderful in this movie. Everything is very Christian like. Everything's, very sensitive to the feelings. It makes you, very much attacks your feelings. And, if you don't cry, honestly, there's something maybe wrong with you because this is a very emotional film and it plays to your senses. It has things happen and you just have to smile. You just have to feel good. The characters, that it's a true story about. It's great that this happened. It's kind of a small story once you take it in and everything, since it was over the course of such a short period of time. And the ending really makes you feel awful that certain people react to this in a bad way. But that's such a short little thing that it doesn't really amount to a huge thing, but it does make you think at the end. Um, I can't imagine, you know, anybody not liking this movie. I think everybody can get something out of it. I did see the previews a lot of times. I did know what the movie was about. I saw a lot of scenes, come along the way that I knew were coming because they were on TV so many times. But I think a lot of people will just like this and just feel good. So at the end of the movie, I did cry a lot. I did enjoy everything that happened in this, no matter, what with the technical things and the argumentative things. Um, the arguments that happened between this mother and the pastor, that's not right. And if I ever have those situations, honestly, I've changed churches. If I have to argue with a pastor as much as the mother and the pastor do in this movie, with the ways that it gets a little personal, there's really no reason to stay at a church if you're like that. So I think I've had enough public service announcements in this review. I'm just going to say that I love this movie. I really did. It comes up with a lot of stuff to think about. It comes up with a lot of stuff to feel good about. If some of the scenes in this movie were actually what happened to this kid, then that's amazing. It just opens your eyes to see how true really the movie might have been. And I'm going to give Breakthrough an A minus. I would love to see it again. I would love to own it. I think it's wonderful with the music. I think everybody that surrounds the main cast, all the school students and all the helpers, and I wish they would have played more towards the rescuer in this movie because we don't get to know the momentous occasion that maybe he does move forward in his faith. And like I said, it's left to be assumed. So, all in all, I think it was a great movie. And when I watch it again, and when you might want to watch it again, I think there's less to worry about probably. And you can just enjoy it and you can just kind of like, watch it and be on your phone and watch it and be on your phone because you kind of know what's coming. And when the nice moments come, you'll cry probably again and you'll laugh again. And it's just an enjoyable movie. It's well done. All these Christian movies are. The reason for the A minus is because of all the stuff that I think is a little controversial. I think it's a little technical. I think it's a little choppy. I think it's a little over dramatic. And I think people are going to see that, but I don't want people ripping it apart because this came out on Easter weekend for a reason. It's going to touch a lot of people's lives and a lot of people's hearts. And I think it's totally worth it to give it an A grade. and not belittle it and in any sort of way. And that's not what I'm trying to do with my review here. I'm just pointing out the obvious stuff and telling you how good the movie is, and I hope you all appreciate it. An A minus for Breakthrough. Thanks a lot, guys. My name is Danny. If you like this or any of my other videos, try and give some of them a watch. Like and subscribe to my channel if you would, and enjoy your movies. And God bless your Easter weekend. Thanks.